Yes. So, works cited, the interactive practice template. I want to begin by saying I understand that for many of us, works cited and MLA style and in-text citation and documentation and references and signal phrases and all the rest, or even like APA and all the rest, can that can be a source of great misery for us because maybe we had a teacher earlier that just, I don't know, somehow made it this punitive, misery-filled experience. I will do my best to help us make friends with, MLA style and the works cited page and references and in-text citation and all the rest. Because quite frankly, it should be something that we want to exist in the world. And let me show you why we want this to exist in the world. Okay, when we want to give credit where credit is due, and when we want someone, and that might be someone giving us credit where credit is due, there should be at least like a standard format or template for that. And in fact, there is, right? Or there's many different standard templates for that, or a number of them. With MLA, the big picture that I just want to get across to you that I think is very common sense, very intuitive, very logical, is that when you are quote unquote giving credit to a source, that source by and large will have an author and by and large will have a title. So let's just imagine that I am sort of writing a article on the Blockbuster International Concert Tour. Okay, like that's just the essay that I'm writing. Just what's my thesis on that? My thesis on that is that because we're in a sort of post-pandemic world where the world is like opening wide up again, well, what is more just sort of like loosed upon all of us besides sports at like stadiums and arenas and whatnot, then the international blockbuster superstar tour, and who is meeting the moment, in terms of ticket sales right now more than anyone else? Taylor Swift. And so we're going to look at Taylor Swift to try and understand how she is meeting the moment. Again, whether or not we agree with that or don't agree with that or endorse that or don't endorse that, we want to look at that and understand it as, a significant event for various reasons. Cool. Again, just a significant event for various reasons. Well, one of the things I might do is kind of situate Taylor Swift in this post-pandemic world. Of course, that's where her tour is existing, right? I think the Eras tour. In the most recent kind of iteration of her as a performer, which was when during the pandemic, she released two kind of quiet albums. The first of which was Folklore. And so in order for me to truly help people understand the kind of phenomenon that is the Blockbuster International Worldwide Tour post-pandemic, everyone going crazy for tickets. Why are some tickets selling for however crazy amount of money it is? We have to understand that like Taylor Swift does this thing where she gets sort of very quiet and acoustic, and then at the same time will then get very international and big and superstar and worldwide or whatever. And so we're going to look at her kind of quiet, meditative album that was released during the pandemic, very at-home type of album, Folklore. We will turn to an expert in writing about pop music, which is John Caramanica of the New York Times, where he analyzes that album, Folklore by Taylor Swift. So we're going to cut to that right over here. And here is the album review from 2021 by John Caramanica. Here is his, so again, this is one of my sources. This is one of my sources for this an article that I'm writing, and the author is John Caramanica. The title is Taylor Swift, a Pop Star Done with Pop, right? Author, title, John Caramanica, title, Taylor Swift, a Pop Star Done with Pop. There's one last piece to this, though. There's one last piece to this, which is that when you are doing your, that's for in-text citation, but when you are doing your, your references at the end, and you give the fuller documentation, there's this idea of the container. Okay, so up here, author and the title, right? Very basic, very intuitive. But then you have the container. Now it's a metaphor. What do you mean the container, right? It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor. One thing that holds another, or one thing that holds many other things. And so here, what is the container? Well, the container here is the New York Times, NewYorkTimes.com, right? That is holding the title, that is holding the article. But so that makes sense, y'all? The idea of the container is the New York Times. And then, okay, well, let's look real quick about, great, New York Times. I need more than that, I need more than that. Well, when was it published, right? Date. So I think that we now are starting to understand the idea of the essential components, author, title, the container, right? The author and the title of that work are in some larger container. What is that container? Again, it could be the New York Times. It could be, you know what, y'all? We could even think about it if I were just writing about one song of Taylor Swift. I could just, and I would write about the song Seven. The song Seven. So, who's the author of that song? Taylor Swift. What's the title of that song? Seven. What's the container of that song? Folklore. That's the name of the album, Folklore. Good. I think we get the idea. One more example would be this video here on YouTube. Okay? Author, Mr. Z. Title of this YouTube video will be, we will call the title of this, how about we just call it we'll call it, I don't know what we're going to call it actually, but I think we'll just call it something like MLA Practice. MLA Practice. Cool. Author, Mr. Z. Ari Zeiger. Zeiger, Ari. Title, MLA Practice. Title of container, YouTube. Right? And then on and on and on. So that is hopefully a non-painful way of understanding that we want this kind of classification to exist. We want there to be a method, a standard method for being able to, cite sources, document sources, refer to sources in a standard way. Okay, you get it.